Everybody, welcome. I'm so glad you could join us here today. We're doing a Start Out webinar. Our topic today is International Expansion for Growth Startups. My name is Matthew Karsten. I'm the founder of Purple Squirrel Media, a diverse and inclusive OTT platform for streaming and content creators. Today and every day, the mission for Start Out is to accelerate the growth of the LGBT community and drive economic empowerment and while building up LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs so that they have equal access and to shape the workforce of the future. I'd like to introduce you to a bunch of my friends, but first I'd like to thank our sponsors for joining us and for sponsoring this event. And there we are, our current valued sponsors, a whole page of them here. And then we've got a big group of really great people that I'm dying to introduce you to. There's me, there's my friend Deborah Lagonis, founder of Friendbase. Got Antone, he may be joining us soon, and Valencia from Brazil may be joining us later today. I also see we've got Daniel Bort, president of Happy TV and international president of sales for Cantawild, right? And Benny Picala, founder of Birdwell Solutions down in Miami, and our new friend, David. And I will leave it up to David to explain to you what he's doing here today.
Sure. Hey, thank you so much for having me. My name is David. I actually go by David. I use him, he, him, his pronouns from Valencia, Spain, and I represent our brand new office called Investing in Valencia, where we help entities on their expansion internationally to consider Valencia as a location for growth and expansion, and all of our services are basically for free. So we want to make sure to help all of you leaders, business leaders on your startups grow internationally and consider our city. And thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us all the way from Valencia, Spain. We're very glad to have you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Debbie Lagonis. Debbie, if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself, tell the panel who you are.
Sure. So I'm Deborah, go by the nickname Debbie. I'm based on the west coast in Sweden in a city called Gothenburg. And I'm a serial entrepreneur and also business coach. So I have had the opportunity to be part of several international growth expansions with different companies and different verticals. And hopefully I'll be able to share some of my knowledge with you today.
Oh gosh, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I've looked up to Debbie for a long time. She's been a mentor to me since we met in the New Chip Accelerator almost 2 years ago now. And she's always been someone that I look up to as a thought leader, and I learn a heck of a lot of information from. We'll go right down the line.
Thank you, Matt.
I see Daniel Bort next. Daniel, tell the crowd who you are.
Hi there. Hi, I'm Daniel Bort. I am the founder of Happy TV, which is a digital streaming platform dedicated to providing quality programming for LGBTQ consumers around the world. We are currently in 180 countries and expanding. So I'm really excited to be here. All my background is in international business. I've been president or vice president of companies that have done international film distribution for about 20 years. And I hail from Valencia, Spain, by the way. My saludos, David. My dad is from Castellón in Borriol. My sister lives in Paterna. And I can testify that it's a wonderful, wonderful place to invest and live as well. It's very cheap, actually. So it's a wonderful place to be.
Anything, I'm going to get good travel plans out of all of this. And last but not least, Benny Picala, tell the crowd who you are.
Hey everybody, I'm Benny. My company, Birdwell Solutions, we build apps. So we're developers. Specifically, we build crypto apps. So we help startups and companies that want to build a blockchain, want to build a D app, an NFT collection. We help them do that. We've always kind of seen ourselves as people that like to build things for everybody. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Benny was actually just in New York City with me for NFT NYC, and definitely it is a global community of startups. They're all startups. This didn't exist 3 years ago. So you can watch this guy talk to anybody from any country. It's really exciting to see. So I've got a list of questions for you guys. None of them are hard, and I guarantee you know the answer to every single one of them. That's why I asked you to be here, right? So I'll get it started. They're really easy questions. So how did you know? And I'll ask you guys one by one. We'll go down the list, and that way everybody gets a chance to answer, give their perspective, and then we'll follow on. There's only like 3 questions total. So we all answer 3 questions. We just might teach everybody a little bit about global expansion. I think we will. First question. How did you know international expansion was on the roadmap for your company? And I'll let ladies first. Miss Debbie. How did you know
Excellent.
international expansion was on the roadmap for your company?
Yeah. Okay. So being in Sweden, it's a really small market. I mean, we're about 10 million people in Sweden. My city is 650,000 inhabitants, and we're the 2nd largest city in Sweden. So although I mean, from my perspective, I think that we're quite tech savvy, and Sweden is a really good testing ground for tech and for new products. But if you want to expand and if you want to make the big bucks, then you need to look outside the Swedish borders. And I think that with the businesses that I've been involved in, several of them are in really quite narrow verticals. For instance, I'm part of a company that is working on a solution using blockchain to work for anti-doping in sports. And I mean, that is a global market, but it is still a very, very small market. So, I mean, from that perspective, that was international day one. When it comes to our virtual world friend base, well, our tagline is to make friends all over the world. So that goes without saying that international expansion was a given. So I think that a combination of, you know, reaching the big global markets and also working in fairly narrow verticals has sort of pushed us outside of Sweden really quickly in the businesses that I've been in or that I am in.
Good answer. Wow. Very good answer. You know, and I remember you telling me about that. Actually happen to know that Daniel is a huge tennis fan, He watches tennis every single day religiously and plays tennis as much as he can. So I know he'll.
I just watched Rafa won in 5 sets.
He's probably watching Rafa this morning, right? Okay, next we've got Daniel. Why don't you take it away? I'll repeat the question. How did you know international expansion was on the roadmap for your company?
Well, I learned that very quickly because I did a test for my company in the first month, and we got the first results. And I realized that even though the North American market, which is the market that I'm in, is very fruitful, the route to expansion had to go through international and through the European and Asian markets, because there are growing by leaps and bounds in the SSI AI business and the OTT markets. That's the markets that we're in. Since we're a digital streaming platform.
What is OTT?
OTT is over the top, and it's what the new companies are going through in order to access audiences. Okay, before you just turn in the channel and you go to channel 5 and there was Fox, and you go to channel 4, there was NBC. Okay, now everything is off the charts in regards to that. Now you have a Roku app in which you enter, you put the Netflix of your liking, or you can put Hulu, or you can put Happy TV, and then you can watch the shows that you would like to see, and that's an over-the-top business. Okay, there's also a system of linear channels. Believe it or not, people are enjoying to watch television again. So all they want to do is to tune in into the channel of their choice, and watch TV. So there are several systems, namely Samsung and Roku channel, for example, that are being very successful into that regard. And these ones are taking notice. For example, Samsung is making more money out of the advertising that they're selling with their partners on the 150 channels that you get into their system than from the hardware itself, from the television revenues, okay? From the revenues of selling television, which is staggering. It's incredible that they're doing that, okay? So the other systems are taking notice, and companies like Huawei, Hisense, TCL, all of them are jumping into the bandwagon, and they're entering into their own linear channels, and we are on all of them. And without this expansion, we will not be growing, and it's very important for us.
Wow, good answer. I learned a lot from Daniel about sales and international sales, and he can definitely speak to somebody in every single country. He works with China. He works with.
Especially when you spend a month in my house, spending time with me. Yes.
This is why he was at Cannes Film Festival, which not all of us get to go to Cannes Film Festival, but one day, maybe I'll go with Happy TV. Okay, Benny, last but not least, take it away. How did you know international expansion was on the roadmap for your company?
Yeah, we build tech and we produce code, which kind of knows no boundaries. And then we listen to our customers. So to kind of explain a little bit more, so I introduced myself, we are developers who build apps. And what that means is that we're delivering a working application that solves a business use case, that makes a customer's life easier, that knows no international boundaries, right? If I can make somebody smile, with the app sitting next to me, I can do the same thing on the other side of the world. It's the same piece of code. So that was kind of coming into it. We knew that we were selling a product that was naturally suited to expand internationally with practically zero cost of distribution. The other was listening to our customers. If you have one potential lead or existing customer that says, hey, I'd like to work with you, or hey, can you help me service this need? Right, that might just be just one, right? It happens a few times, you should start listening, right? But it happens enough times, listen to your customers. And so that was kind of what put us over the edge to say, yes, we're going to start actively building these partnerships, actively searching these relationships, and off the races.
Good. Thank you very much, Benny. And I would never leave you out, David. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. David, would you be so kind as to tell us how you knew international expansion was on the roadmap for your company? It is. You're talking to all of us here today. How did you know?
Sure. Well, I'm unfortunately not representing a company itself, but I represent an entity that helps companies grow and go international. And something that I've noticed from all of these startups and companies that consider internationalization is that they're limited. They already grew as much as they could in their home countries, and it's very important to consider other locations to keep growing the company. Otherwise you're going to be stuck and just be your neighborhood's biggest home perhaps, but why not just go elsewhere and consider growing? Something that I've seen people and then companies be the most interested about these spaces. Talent, have a good relationship with universities and local talent, and make sure that it's well prepared, and political stability and inclusion. Those are all of the common trends that I've seen people look into when they're looking for internationalization into a new location.
You're talking about specifically from an investment standpoint, looking for political stability / place where a startup environment can thrive, like Sweden.
Exactly, like Sweden or like Spain, you want to be sure that you're around a lot of other startups, a strong business ecosystem. For example, as Benny was saying, like in the blockchain world, you want to be in a city or in a country that is very well regulated. There's political stability that controls that market. That you're not going to make this big investment of putting your other office there, hire talent, get a space, and grow your company, but at the same time maybe risk the location of it. And also it's very strong to make sure that you have entities that support you and help you, from venture capitalists to just city support. I think that is very, very important to consider.
Definitely. I know that on my roadmap anyway is a bunch of hackathons in Europe, so I might be there sooner than later. I
You're
hope.
welcome to Valencia anytime.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation. We just might take you up on that. Ask Daniel, he'll tell you that. So I have another round of questions, and we'll follow the same format. Ryan, you're doing a great job. I really appreciate all your help. So we're gonna start with ladies first. We'll go through the list, and then we'll be more than halfway done already. Okay, question 2. How do you coordinate across countries and time zones to manage international clients? Debbie, what time is it for you?
Yes, so for me right now it is 9:16 at night.
What about you, Miss Debbie?
I'm also 9 p.m. Well, 9:15 here.
Okay, what time is it for you,
at the
Penny?
moment? But I mean, the whole.
Go ahead, guys. Sorry. Take it away.
It's 3 for me here in Miami.
I think that's. I mean, if you're going to work. Sorry.
It's all right. We'll let Debbie take it from here.
That's okay. I was just going to say it's if you're working with international customers or partners, you can't work from 9 to 5. It's as simple as that. It's you have early mornings or late nights, and that's just the way it is. And it's fun. I mean, it's you just get used to it. I think that the challenge is we have partners that are on the West Coast in the US, and we have partners in India. So the time zone between those two are really, really hard to match up. So sometimes we have very early mornings and very late nights. I think one of the best was when we were invited to join an accelerator program that was running in Peru, and we were supposed to do a pitch at 4 a.m. in the morning. But I think that was where we reached our limit, and we said thank you, but no thank you. we didn't join.
Can you just watch the playback? I totally understand. Hey, Anto, welcome to the party. So glad you could join us. We'll let you jump in and answer some questions. We're going to go through the list, and then we'll get you a strong introduction. No worries. Glad you could join us. So what about you, Daniel? I know you're on the phone all sorts of times at night with the other side of the world. What about you? How did you coordinate across countries and time zones to manage international clients?
You have to have willpower, and you have to know that you have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do the phone call and then go back to sleep. Or you have to stay awake until 2 o'clock in the morning and do the phone call and then go to sleep. It gets easier with time. Once you get to the gist, then you keep going. For example, I used to not deal with Asia that much, but now that I am working with a Chinese company, from 6 o'clock until midnight, I am on call to receive phone calls from that company, and you get used to it. You facilitate yourself by making sure that you are on time and you're a professional. And once you get a gist of that, then everything else happens by itself. I don't think you need to worry too much or put too much pressure on it, just to make sure that you have a good calendar. The Google Calendar could be a little messy, actually. I've been in trouble because of Google Calendar before. Just make sure that you handle the time zones correctly, and you always on time, always on the call, because that's what's going to bring in the business. Okay, otherwise you're dead in the water. But international people want they want their time respected. They want to know that you were there for them. And sometimes it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. in the morning for you. You just have to be there. And you just do. It happens.
Why
And
he's
it-
a good salesman, guys. So it's definitely no longer the days of 9 to 5. We can say
No.
those days are long gone, and that in a global community where global expansion is on your roadmap, that you just have to do it. You have to have willpower, as he says. What about you, Benny?
Yeah. In short,
Should I repeat the
knowing
question?
who the, yeah, how to work with people in different time zones and how to
Yeah.
manage the changing hours. I think it's about knowing the people that are kind of outside of whatever your normal operating schedule is. And maybe there's so many of them that everybody's outside of that normal operating schedule. But knowing those few clients or those few team members or those few partners, and being mindful of that, right? And letting them know and saying, hey, I know that I'm proposing a time that's early in the morning for you, or that's late in the afternoon, late in the evening for you. I apologize about that, but this is the only time that was available for everyone else, right? And just kind of being as mindful as possible, because it comes with the terrain. But being able to just keep, show people that you care and that you're doing your best to reach that expectation and to accommodate, tends to smooth things over. And that way people aren't as crabby when they wake up at 3 in the
I've
morning.
heard several people that Benny has a very highly rated speaking voice. I'm pretty sure we're going to go on a podcast one of these days. And without further ado, Antonio Tome, welcome to the party. So glad to have you here. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what time zone you're in? It's a good place.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, and apologies for I'm a bit late. I couldn't get in. Yeah, so my name is Antonio Tomboni, and I'm an entrepreneur in the UK. So I'm in the United Kingdom. It's now 8 p.m. So it's nearly 8:30 at night. So I work different areas of technology. I'm actually in the process of opening a technology hub and an accelerator and incubator for digital skills and innovation across the north of England. But I also have several businesses in tech and in events as well. Around a UK, one of the largest technology festivals in the United Kingdom, in the north. And again, just talking about being international is quite resounding, because our event reaches 48 countries across the world. So we work with people from all over the world. So I can appreciate the time zones and everything else. So it's a very exciting discussion, to be honest with you, and I can relate to the time zones for sure.
And I want to ask you the first question, because I really want to know your answer. How did you know international expansion was on the roadmap for your
company? We actually it took us a bit of some time to discover that was on the map for us. But we kind of, COVID really helped us accelerate that rate of expansion internationally, because we knew that we could pivot it, especially because of having to do events online and hybrid. So, we really pivoted quite quickly, but it was something that we already looking into, but not to this level. I mean, our audience has grown massively just by going hybrid. Now we're reaching over 48 countries. So it was something that, we wanted to do at the time, but we never planned for it. But but it's kind of happened naturally. But I've always worked internationally, throughout my working life anyways. I've worked in the US markets, the Asian markets, the Middle East market. So yeah, I'm very well versed with regards to international expansion.
Very good answer. And how about you, David? I know it's how do you coordinate across time zones when you work with other companies, especially startups who already have such little time as it is?
Yeah, for sure. Well, something that I notice is that there's a lot of compromise. So for example, having meetings at like 5 o'clock Spanish time, which is, out of office, for a lot of people, but might be 7 a.m. in California. So like, yeah, people here might be willing to stay a little later if you're willing to like wake up at 7 instead of like like meeting at 7 instead of 8. So something that I noticed that there's a lot of compromission about that, and like today for me, tomorrow for you, like maybe the next meeting it'll be like late for me or early for me, or
you're saying by compromising, you're building trust with your clients or your
exactly.
contacts. And by giving a little bit each way, it kind of builds that respect and that trust that allows them to have that relationship and work across time.
That's exactly right. At the end of the day, business is business, but also, trust is crucial. And especially internationally, you need to trust who you're dealing with in the other side for either a business transaction or if, if part of your team. Trust is crucial. And I think that compromission, it shows trust.
Very good. Well, I trusted that all you guys were going to show up here, and you did. So thank you very much for that. I've got one last question to close it all off. Can you believe that we're already almost there? Unbelievable. And the last question is, what is something unexpected you learned from expanding your company internationally? I'll go first this time. It was unexpected that I would have such wonderful friends like you guys that could show up for an event like this in the middle of summer, regardless of where you are in the world. So thank you so much. I think we all gave a little bit and we built that trust and relation. And I know I can call on you guys to speak anywhere in the world. So Miss Debbie, what is something unexpected you learned from expanding your company friend base?
That is a good question. First of all, positives, how amazing it is to work with people from all around the world. We have a lot of team members in South America, Turkey, India, and the friendliness and the openness, and that we have so much in common is pretty amazing. What has been frustrations, I think, is that depending on who you are talking to, or what culture you're talking to, we have a little bit of a different perception sometimes on time. I remember that we were going to do business with a company in the Middle East. And for us here, at least here in Sweden, if you send off an NDA, you expect it to be signed and returned within a day or two. After 2 months, I reached out and asked, do you really not want to do business with us? Where they got horribly offended and felt that I was really pushy. So I think that was something that was a little bit unexpected for me, that it was such a big difference in how you do business when it comes to certain, rights and wrongs. I think that one was a learning curve for me, that I pushed too hard because of the time aspect.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I definitely know that dealing with people in any different type of culture or environment, they value things time differently. Like I know that don't they take a nap every day in Spain? Like a siesta.
Absolutely.
Don't interrupt that. I know that for sure. Okay, Daniel, how about you? What is something unexpected you learned when expanding your company internationally?
That I was going to grow faster internationally than the US, actually, believe it or not. That was completely unexpected, because I made all my business plan based here, being here, and then the doors just got wide open. And there's a couple of initiatives that we're working on, that if they happen, we're going to be making most of our revenues out of international.
You hit in the UK or the UK, right?
UK and Spain, actually. I need to talk to David about how do I move my company to Valencia.
That makes this
how much money he's gonna give me for me to do that. I want to know that.
Slow down there, Tiger. Benny, what's something you learned by expanding your company internationally? Something unexpected that you learned?
Yeah, I'll take a positive and then something that was a little difficult to learn. Positive connecting with people, being able to connect cross-culturally and kind of like, flip on the camera and like be able to get to know someone very quickly. Wonderful. I think one thing that took us some time to kind of learn, and truthfully, we're still navigating a little bit of, is that the margins for pricing and kind of the expectations of deliverables can change from region to region, from vastly, right? And as an example, so we're US-based developers. So the cost margins, the way that we operate, the way that we do deliverables, while I kind of thought that was very similar globally, I learned that that was not the case. And so that's been something to navigate, is where normally I could, kind of assume that I knew a lot about how the other person's business operates. Now I'm kind of having to ask a little bit more questions and get to know people a little bit better, but it's a good learning experience.
So true. How about you, sir, Mr. Antonio? What's something unexpected you learned from expanding your company internationally? Something unexpected.
Quite unexpected for us was really the rate of international growth, how many clients we acquired internationally. And sort of, I believe that was really unexpected. And the appetite for businesses outside of the UK that want to do business with the UK businesses and collaborate. I mean, I do quite a lot of it in the US, workers in the US, as working with some of the big four, like Amazon and Google and IBM and all the other boys and girls there. So it's a
big hit. It's a big hit.
Yeah, it's a really big, yeah. So yeah, for me, that was quite unexpected, if I'm honest with you. I didn't expect it to be so quick as well. And I didn't expect to work with Google, like the way they sort of work is like they're still on startup sort of phase. Do you know what I mean? They work so quick, they make decisions very fast. So that was unexpected when I started working with them. Yeah.
I've seen you take all of those opportunities in stride, so it's really impressive to watch you excel online. And I'm glad that I can have you here today to meet some of my other friends. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
How about you, David? What's something unexpected you learned from expanding internationally?
So something that I noticed is that it is so crucial, the understanding of culture, because culture is something that people don't think is that, the way you do business in the US, it's absolutely not the way that we do business in Spain. Here, for example, napping is that culture that is not in the US, or, the profit margins, as we were talking about earlier, also are very different. Like what something here maybe for like a 20% profit could be like successful, maybe in the US would not be the case. Or just the importance of appreciating and respecting culture. And I think that's a right way to basically to grow your business internationally, is to adapt to that new market that you're joining.
Agreed. Yeah, I can see that. Definitely knowing how to do business is like, how do you get your foot in the door with other international businesses? It's like, well, how do they walk? And that's how you get your foot in the door. So it's interesting to have those experiences, and I'm excited to have this panel to be able to learn from all of you guys, because we've got Sweden, we've got Valencia, Spain, we've got UK, we've got West Coast, we've got Miami. I'm in New York holding it down. So I would say everybody does something a little bit differently here, there, and everywhere. And it's up to us to figure out how to work together. So that's the last question for today, you guys. That's all I've got. I have to say thank you to all of our sponsors and all of our panelists here today. Debbie, Benny, Daniel, Antonio, David. I said it right one time. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I think we are,
Matthew, you have a couple of audience questions in the in your chat. You'll see host and panelists. So what do you wish you would have known before you began to market your brand internationally, and what does company registration look like in other countries?
That's a great question. Why don't you read that loud for us one more time, Brian, and then I'll open it up for the panel to be able to answer it.
Okay, so what do you wish you would have known before you began to market your brand internationally? What are some of the things that you learned along the way?
I can go first. Can I answer that?
Yeah,
sure.
Please.
Yeah, I think it's really the delivery, the message, how you deliver the message varies in country from country. So you really have to be mindful how you market your sort of, your messaging and how you do it from country to country. So I know that I can't use certain ways of marketing in the Middle East that I would do in the US or in Africa. So it's completely different. So yeah, that's one advice I would give, branding and marketing.
Mm. The branding and marketing is very different because how you say one thing here might not translate over there, right, into the right message. Very interesting. Anybody else want to give a take at that question?
I'd just like to expand on what Antonio said. I mean, the whole, and also what you said, Matt, about, finding out what the, different messaging, how it would be perceived in different countries. I mean, if you're unsure, then I would absolutely recommend that you speak to a native person. If you're going to Japan, speak to someone who is native, speaks Japanese, preferably in the same vertical, to make sure that you don't put your foot in it in any way when you're going to try and market your brand. There are a lot of people out there and they're usually super helpful. You don't have to go to start off with a very expensive brand specialist, but, just reach out in your network and see how they perceive your messaging. I think that's a really good idea to do that.
Yeah, you can ask for feedback from someone who might have more experience from you, like
even reach out on any of your social media feeds. Does anyone know anyone from Japan that can connect me, that can give me some advice on my messaging? Simple as that.
Very good point. Anybody else? David?
I would like to add, actually use the local resources like our office. We're governmentally funded. So when we get companies that, say like, hey, I'm considering cities and I would like to consider between Barcelona, Valencia, Madrid, Malaga, whatever. Can you tell me more about Valencia? So what we do, we draft a report about the Valencian ecosystem on that specific field that the company is about. And a lot of the cities have these kind of services also for free or for very little cost, where I think it's really, really important that you ask the locals, how will that industry be welcome in the city. And also the startup community. Yeah, a lot of the cities have like, New York startups or Start Out, or, we have Valencia startup where, you can go to events, you can go to fundraising events, you can reach out to the community and basically learn from the locals. I think that would be my biggest piece of advice when going elsewhere.
Thanks, David. Did we have any more questions from the audience, from the participants?
Yeah, the other question was for any of those organizations that are registered in multiple international locations, what does the company registration process look like for other countries? Which ones are daunting? Which ones are easy? That's a basic question if for those companies that have multi-country registrations.
It's a nightmare in Asia, I can tell you.
They
make you jump through hoops and hoops and hoops. Oh my God, Hong Kong, Jesus Christ. And I don't know what's gonna be out of Hong Kong after this, because Hong Kong is a completely different city than it was before. But my company registration in Hong Kong was a complete and absolute nightmare. I can tell you. So yes, you have to be very mindful of each one of the cities as countries, and think alike. For example, I registered a company in Mexico, and it was not that difficult than I did it in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, they made me jump through freaking hoops to make it all work. So that's my experience.
So
I can add to that India is a bit of a challenge as well. We have feet on the ground in India, and even then, when we registered our subsidiary in India, it was quite fascinating, the amount of paperwork that we had to provide. And I don't think I would do it again.
Very interesting.
No, I'm not gonna say a specific country, but I'm gonna say that wherever you go, you're gonna face a lot of bureaucratic issues, paperwork, challenges, visas. So my biggest advice, and for people who are a little bit more of on a budget, hire a lawyer, like a local lawyer who actually knows what you're doing, because maybe you think for saving a couple $100, you might want to do it yourself, but then you don't know the ways, or you might miss a paperwork, you might miss a check mark, you might miss a piece of documentation, and it might make the process longer and more painful. So I would say if you have the chance to get the right professional to do it for you, to make sure you do it right, especially in a language, in a country, and in a government that you don't know how to do it.
Very good. Anybody else want to give a go at this last question? I would say I'll give it a go. I've only ever incorporated in the United States, and I can only imagine how difficult it could possibly. That's challenging in itself as a startup. That's no small feat to take your business and make it a C Corp and learn about states like Delaware where you're not from. It's a big step, and I encourage you to feel out as many options as possible, especially if you're an online company. You're not necessarily limited to where you live. You can incorporate where you do business, especially if you do international business. So thank you guys again for joining us and for answering those questions a little bit more than what I had prepared for you today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and I really hope I get to see all of your happy, smiling faces again soon. If that's all you've got for me, that's all I've got for you. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Nice to meet y'all.
Bye, guys. Thank you.